uthi akukho okuningi engakusho kodwa ke ukuya ngama-minute lapho ke ukhulume kuleso sigaba se-11 ukuthi lapho ke kube khona ofakazi abahlonzwa kanti ke abanye balabo bofakazi bona sibamisiwe emsebenzini kanti ke labo siye sakwazi ukuthi sithintane nabo bona bazimisela ukuthi beze kulesi sigcawu nokuthi ke bazokwazi ukuthi basilekelele kanti uthi mase sibheka lapha kusigaba u15.2 kulapho kukhulunywa khona ngezinhlelo kanye nesabelo zimali kanti ke uthi ofakazi bakahulumeni yibo ke abantu abazokwazi ukuthi bacacise kahle bajule ngodaba ke olubhekana nezinhlelo kanye nesabelo zimali njengoba ke kuqukethwe kuleso sigaba sika 15.2.
Wil graag klem lê op die voorarbitrasie notulen, veral paragraaf 11, waar dit sê dat ons identifiseer en sal dan getuienis lei wat nie deur enige ander partye geroep word nie. Hierdie verskeie persone is op skorsing, maar van hulle is gewillig om getuienis te lewer. Ek wil ook klem lê op 15.2 in die notule. Daar is, ek weet van die partye sal dan persone roep wat getuienis gaan gee van iemand oor die beplanne en begroting, maar ons sal ook getuienis dan roep vir wat gaan sal getuig oor die implementering van hierdie oorplasing en van hierdie getuienis sal vir ons dan kan presies sê wat gebeur het.
Well, let me thank all the parties, the opening submissions. This is an arbitration sui generis. It's an unusual arbitration. And therefore it will, from time to time, have requirements which are not quite usual. The opening statements could not have been better and clearer about what we are here for. And it's a reasonable resummation, as I say, of what we hope to achieve in the next 3 weeks. But we all the time keeping in mind that the idea is to get on to hear out and create spaces that would lead to equitable redress and not just dry bone arbitration that tends to go zoom straight towards usually a financial award. So we're going to, I would like to thank all of you, and indeed has been very, very helpful in all ways. I would like to add in particular to say that we should acknowledge the fact that the state is part of this process, and it is a partner in a search for equitable redress. We've had other calamities in our country where the state would take a different position, but here we actually are walking the same road. And I hope we'll be able to keep it as it is right up to the end and to the point where actually I would like to get on to Professor Makgoba. Is there any particular matter that is so pressing that you must say it now? There being none, I'm going to proceed, and I would like to get Obakeng to facilitate the presence of Professor Makgoba. Please.
Judge ke belichaza ukuthi ke uyabonga kubo bonke labo ababambe indima kuze kube manje uthi ke manje lesi sigcawu sokulamula ke isigcawu ke esingavamile kanti ke kuzoba khona ke izici ezithize ezingajwayelekanga kanti ke kulamaviki amathathu ke thina sizabe sibhekelele udaba lokuthi ke sithola kanjani noma sifinyelela kanjani ubulungisa ngoba injongo ukuthi ke kube khona ukuzwana nokuzwisana sikwazi ukuthi ke sisombulule lolu daba singamane nje sibheke udaba lesinxephezelo ngokwemali kuphela kodwa sibheke ubulungisa uthi kanti ke okunye okubalulekile ukuthi ke uhulumeni uyingxenye yalesi sigcawu kanti ke lokho kuyakhuthaza kakhulu ukuthi nabo bazimisele ukuthi ke bathole isisombululo kulolu daba size sifinyelele leso sinqumo kanti ke uye wathi lokho kuyinto engavamile ngoba esikhathini esiningi sithola uhulumeni yena ke eba nombono ohlukile kodwa okwamanje sibambisene naye uhulumeni siyahambisana ukuze sikwazi ukuthi ke sithole isisombululo salokhu uye wacela ukuthi ngabe kukhona yini abanye abathanda ukwenza izethulo ngaphambi kokuthi siqhubeke kuthule ubufakazi watholakala ukuthi akekho ke onezinye ke izindaba wathi ke sesiyandlula singena kwisigaba esilandelayo sokuthi ke kuthulwe ubufakazi kanti kulapho ke uthe uzocela usolwazi uMakgoba ezothula ubufakazi.
Ek bedank almal vir hulle insaag en soos jy weet hier is 'n ongewone arbitrasie en daar sal verskeie vereistes wees wat sal plaasvind. Ek wil ook sê dat die verklaringe wat gelewer is duidelik oor hoekom ons hier is en wat ons wil behaal. En ons hoop dat die gepaste aanspreeklikheid vir regtigheid dan sal plaasvind en met hierdie proses gaan ons nie direk na 'n finansiële aanspreeklikheid toe nie. Hierso gaan ons deur 'n anderste proses as 'n gewone arbitrasie. Ek is ook bly dat ek bly om te sê dat die staat ook deel is. Ons moet erken dat die staat is 'n vennoot en saam met ons op ons soektog na geregtigheid. En ek hoop ons kan hierdie pad aanhou saamloop tot en met die einde. En ons gaan aanbeweeg dan na die volgende gedeelte toe waar bewyse gelewer word. En as daar enige prosedure is wat iemand wil aanspreek, dan is dit nou die tyd. Nee. So dan gaan ons nou professor Makgoba vra om dan getuienis te lewer.
Professor Makgoba. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Swat. I am obliged to swear you in this arbitration proceedings which occur because you so required. They are in effect an implementation of your recommendation, to which we will come in a moment. But for now, my initial task is to ask you whether you'd like to take the formal oath or an affirmation.
I'll take whichever is simpler.
The division normally is those who are not faith people want an affirmation, and those who want to affirm in the name of God would take an oath.
I'll take the oath.
You take the oath.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you to raise your right hand and say, I, Malekapuru Makgoba,
Malekapuru Makgoba,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that the evidence you'll give before this arbitration proceedings
that the evidence I shall give before this arbitration proceedings
shall be the truth and nothing but the truth.
shall be the truth, but nothing but the truth.
And if so, please, you've raised your right hand already and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Professor Malekapuru Makgoba, if I had many young people, I'd want them to stand here and just look at your qualifications. I get a heartbeat every time I look at them, procured from very great universities around the world. But you have been called here by the state to come and testify around your report, whose subtitle is No Guns, 94 plus, Silent Deaths and Still Counting. That's a subtitle to your report. I am not going to lead you because you have been called by the state. And unfortunately, because of space, the person who will be posing the questions sits slightly to your right. He is counsel representing the province of Gauteng and the National Minister of Health. It's Advocate Hutamo, who sits to your right,
Okay.
with that bright red and white tie. If I had anything to do with it, I would have turned your table to be more facing the audience, and I'd ask Ubakeng and others, could you turn the table so that the professor can face more that way and see the person he'll be having the conversation with?
You can come this side.
Immediately after the questions that have been posed in chief by advocate for the state, there will be questions which, as we understand, will be mainly clarificatory or complementary from the rest of council. There are many advocates here, so there'll be a number of questions that will probably arise from your evidence. Advocate Lutamo.
Thank you, Justice. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
There is a bundle of documents before you, which is titled File 1. May you please just get to it. And the first section from page 1, it's a document titled The Report into the Circumstances Surrounding the Death of Mentally Ill Patients, Gauteng Province. Are you familiar with this document?
It is my report.
You have authored the document.
I authored 35 versions of this report.
Thank you. And you confirm the contents in the report.
With certainty.
Thank you. Professor, I'm going to hand up 2 documents, which is a list of names in 2 versions. Yes. Justice?
Of course, counsel, whatever you give to the witness, you're going to give to me, right?
Indeed.
No,
Thank you.
I think
And-
I think I should give you the original.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
I've got.
Shall we proceed, counsel?
Indeed, so. Professor, it is common cause that the proceedings is in relation to the death of mentally ill patients, and the subtitle of the report reads that no guns 94 plus silent death and still counting. Can you just assist these proceedings by giving the number of those patients who died pursuant to the project in respect of which you undertook an investigation, with reference to the 2 lists which have been handed up, and just explain the difference between the 2 lists?
Well, counsel, I would have imagined the witness would have first been asked, in what capacity did he write the report? Shouldn't you qualify the report in that way?
Thank you, Justice. If I can give the witness an opportunity. Professor, you have just mentioned that you have authored the report referred to you in the bundle. Can you just state for the record, in what circumstances were you able to produce this report, which is a subject of these proceedings?
Well, I produced the report as the health ombuds of the country on the basis of a request or a complaint that was made by the National Health Minister to my office to investigate the circumstances of the deaths that had occurred in the Gauteng province on mentally ill patients.
So do I understand you to be saying that the process of the investigation was at the behest of the national government?
Correct.
And
manje ke sokuqalwe ukubuzwa umbuzo kanti ke ufakazi wokuqala ke njengoba ke sefikile usolwazi umakhoba kanti ke u advocate Butamo ke yena ke uye ke ubebuza lemibuzo kanti ke umcele nje ukuthi aqinisekise ukuthi ingabe uyayazi yini lemiqulu uye wavuma uSolwazi wathi yebo uyayazi lemiqulu futhi uyena umuntu ke owabhala lo yombiko. Kanti ke uye wabuza futhi ke ukuthi ingabe ke kumaqondana ke nokushona yini kwezigulane ezigula ngokwengqondo yini uSolwazi uye waqinisekisa lokho. Kanti ke futhi uye wabuzwa ke ukuthi ke yena wayebhala lo mbiko ngaphansi kwasiphi ke isikhundla. Kanti uyasho ukuthi yena ke ubhale lokhu ke njengomqaphi womkhakha wezempilo iHealth Ombudsman. Kanti ngemuva ukuthi kube khona ke isikhalo esifakwe ungqongqoshe wezempilo kuzwe lonke ukuze aphenye ngalezi zifo noma lezi zehlakalo eziyenzeka la eGauteng.
Die getuienis is ingesweer. Ek wens jong mense kan kyk na die kwalifikasies. U is dan geroep deur die staat om die getuienis te lewer en die subtitel van u artikel is soos in Engels No Guns, 94 Silent Death and Still Counting. So die advokaat hoe gaan hy nou vra en ons sal daarna nadat die getuienis gelewer is, sal daar dan komplementêre vrae aan u gevra word. Hier is 'n groot aantal advokate teenwoordig, so dis sal u redelike aantal vrae gevra word. Voor u lê dokument en is leer nommer 1 op eerste afdeling bladsy 1, is dokumentsverslag van die omstandighede van die sterftes, is u bekend? Ja, ek het aantal weergawe hiervan geskryf en is bekend met die inhoud van die verslag? Ja, ek is. Hier is 'n dokument met 'n lys van name op. Dis algemene kennis dat die sterftes is van die geestesgestremde pasiënte is en die subtitel daarvan is No Guns, 94 Silent Death and Still Counting. En die aantal pasiënte wat gesterf het in die projek. En ek verwys nou na die twee lyste en die verskil tussen die twee lyste. Maar kom ons kyk eers in watter hoedanigheid u hierdie verslag kon geskryf het. Professor het gesê u het die verslag geskryf en vir die rekord, kan u vir ons asseblief die omstandighede uitlig onder hoe u gekom het om die verslag te rig? Ek het die verslag gerig as of die gesondheidsombudsman en dit is gekom van 'n verklagte van die nasionale gesondheidsminister. Het ek toe die taak gekry om hierdie op te stel en dit gaan oor die sterftes van die geestesgestremde pasiënte. So as ek reg het om sê die nasionale regering het u dan die taak gegee? Ja, dit is.
Professor, do I understand your evidence to be saying that when the minister lodged a complaint with your office, he was concerned about the circumstances relating to the death of these patients?
That is correct.
And it was his desire that the truth should be uncovered in order to take appropriate measures which resulted in the circumstances of death of these patients.
He requested me to investigate the circumstances that underlined, I think, the death of these mentally ill patients within the province at the time.
Manje ithi ngibuze ke Solwazi ukuthi ngabe ubufakazi bakho ukuthi ke ungqongqoshe uye ke umuntu okucelile ukuthi uphenye uSolwazi uphendula ukuthi yebo nangempela kunjalo. Kanti ke ummeli ke uyaphinda ke uthi ke lokho ingabe ke kuyakhomba ke ukuthi kuyinhloso kaNgqongqoshe noHulumeni ukuthi lolu daba luphenyisiswe. uSolwazi uphendule ngokuthi yebo mina ngiye ngacela ukuthi ngiphenyisise izizathu eziholele ukuthini kushone abantu lapho eGauteng.
So die bewyse sê toe die minister het 'n klagte by die kantoor ingedien omdat hy bekommerd was oor die omstandighede as gevolg van die afsterwenis van hierdie pasiënte. Ja, dit is korrek. Hy wou hê die waarheid moet uitkom oor hierdie omstandighede. Die versoek is gerig om die omstandighede van die dood of die sterfte van hierdie pasiënte in die provinsie uit te lig of te ondersoek.
The outcome of your investigation, it is the report which is before you.
Correct.
Can you just get to the two documents which were just handed over to you?
Yes.
which appears to be a list. Can you just assist these proceedings by indicating who prepared this list and what is this list for?
This list was prepared by my office. I have actually signed one of the copies so that it is authentic. And it was specifically prepared for this arbitration process, but it was also prepared as a result of my title, that at the time when I released the report, I was still counting. So today I'm here, I think, to tell the public that I have counted, I verified my counting, and I shall no more count. And I shall give the figures that I've counted as a result of my findings. I've prepared 2 documents, and these documents really outline the total number of patients who died during the process. One, it's a document, this A3-page document, which has a number of identifiers in it that I want to presume, I think in Japanese culture, would be called top secret, because it contains what I would call very highly confidential information of the patients that died as a result of the process. The shorter one, which I have signed, just has got the names and the genders of the patient without the details, what are the probable causes of death and so forth. It's a very simplified one. It's nevertheless still confidential, but I think it's a sort of a tailored version of the bigger document. And as I say, I think in Japanese speak, the bigger document is top secret, the other one is confidential. So both of them are not for public consumption unless, I think, the justice and the legal team decides that would be the best. But in my profession, it would not be appropriate to do it that way. So these are the documents. Now, let me just go. 118 people died as a result of this project. And this is, remember, on the 1st of February when I released my report, 94 people were counted to have died. And at that time, I said I was still counting. And there are reasons why I was still counting. Now, the 118 patients that have died, all died within the control period. That is from the time when I started the investigation on the 1st of October, the previous year, to the 1st of February in 2017. There are 118 patients that died. Now, these 118 patients can be classified as follows. 108 of these patients were direct patients that had come from life Esidimeni, and the 10 patients that died are people who died associated, I think, with the movements, the transfer, and the effects of the Life Esidimeni project. And they largely died in one NGO that was never licensed. But that's a separate matter altogether. That is really what summarizes these 2 documents.
Professor, I have to take you back to the 10. You'll be interrupted from time to time. This is very helpful. Please go ahead.
I don't mind.
Yes, particularly by judges. They are the ones who intrude the most when witnesses speak. I understand about the 108. The 10, you say they died of effects of what?
Their death came as a result of the movements or being sacrificed for the transfer of patients from Life Esidimeni. Let me give you maybe explain this. Patients were transferred from Life Esidimeni to a rehabilitation center in Cullinan, which was an established rehabilitation center. When these patients were moved from Life Esidimeni, the rehabilitation center took out a certain number of their patients to make space for the Life Esidimeni patients. And those patients were placed, as I say, in an NGO that was not licensed, that was inappropriately staffed, that did not have the resources to look after the patients, where patients relapsed and some of them died. That's basically what I was trying to say.
So you're saying
They were not registered at Life Esidimeni as patients. They were sacrificed for the people that came from Life Esidimeni into the rehabilitation center and put into an NGO that was located within the rehabilitation center but was never licensed.
so Cullinan made space for those who came from Life Esidimeni.
Yes.
And in so doing displaced people who needed care and moved them into circumstances where they had to
Yes.
be looked after by unlicensed NGO.
Correct. That's
And
what-
that led to their demise.
correct.
So you say there is an obvious causal connection.
Well, I think if you ask a common man in the streets, I think that's what they would say. And I like to think that as an ombuds, I behave like a common man.
But for them being moved to make way for those who came from Life Esidimeni, they may very well, on the probabilities, have survived. That's really what you're saying.
Well, they had been living there for some time, and there was no evidence that they were on their way out.
Until they were moved.
Yes.
I follow. Thank you. You have a lot to translate, but that's how it's going to go. Bendithe andithi nizothi. Ngesixhosa bathi uyashwangathela. Andithi awuthethi yonke kodwa funeka kube umgomo bekhona.
Obekushiwo la ngamafuphi ke ukuthi ke u-advocate omele uhulumeni ke ukuthi ukuya ngaleyo miphumela uye wabhala loyo mbiko kanti ke uSolwazi wavuma ukuthi yebo ke kunjalo kanti ke uyakhuluma ke ngemiqulu emibili okuwuluhlu ukuthi ke ungabe ubhalwe uye yini wavuma wathi kubhalwe ihhovisi lakhe kanti ke ukuya ngalokho ke uye waqinisekisa lokho kanti ke uyasho ukuthi ke kuloyo mbiko ke njengoba ke bokubhaliwe lapho ukuthi ke bokushone abantu abangu 118 nokuthi kusaba uqolo abangu 94 nokuthi kusabalwa kanti ke uSolwazi ke ukhulume ukuthi ke egcineni ke njengoba ke sebaqedile bagcine bafike kusamba esungu 118 yabantu abashonile kanti ke uthi lokhu ke kwenzeke phakathi komhla ka1 October kuya ku1 February 2017 kanti ke uthi abantu abashonile bangu 108 yilabo ke abebesuswa ke lapho Esidimeni bamikiswa kwezinye izindawo kanti ke labo abayishumi abantu ukuthi babehlala laphana eKhalinen kule rehabilitation center yaseKhalinen kuthema baletha laba abantu ababuya eLife Esidimeni basusa laba abantu babamikisa kwenye ke iNGO kanti kutholakala ukuthi yona ke ibingabhalisiwe kulapho ke laba abanye ke abayishumi ke bashona khona kanti ke uthi ke baye baqinisekisa lokho ngemuva kokuthi ke sebathole ke lezo zibalo ingakho ke bagcine sebafika kulelo nani ukuthi kuze kube manje bonke abantu abalahlekelwe impilo zabo bangu 118
Die uitkomste is dan in die verslag hier voor u, is dit korrek? Dokumente kyk nou wat gegee is, dis 'n lys daar. Kan jy asseblief aandui wie die lys opgerig het en waarvoor? My kantoor het hierdie lys opgerig of geskryf. Ek het een kopie daarvan geteken en dit is ter voorbereiding vir hierdie arbitrasie as ook om die verslag het ek wat ek gegee het ek nog getel en ek het nie opgehou tel vanaf of na die verslag het ek nog nie opgehou tel nie. En ek sal die syfers deurgee. Die twee dokumente is voorberei met die aantal syfers. Die eerste daarvan is dokumente so op 'n A3 bladsy en dit sluit in soos wat die Japaneese sê hoogs konfidensiële inligting. En die ander een het nou minder konfidensieel of nie konfidensiële inligting, dis die name en die geslag van die persone. Dit sluit nie die identiteitsdokument of identiteitsnommer en die oorsaak van hulle sterfte in nie. Dit is eenvoudiger, maar is steeds konfidensieel. Soos wat die Japaneese sal sê, top secret, en die ander een is konfidensieel. So in my opinie is dit nie gepas vir die publiek nie, maar dit sal afhang van die persone hierso deel in die arbitrasie of dit dan vir die publiek toegang sal kry daarvoor. 118 mense het gesterf, en dit was in hierdie kontrole tydperk vanaf die 1 Februarie wat ek my verslag geskryf het 94 mense gesterf, en ek het gesê ek tel nog steeds. So vanaf die 118 sterftes was almal in my kontroleperiode van die 1 Oktober van die vorige jaar tot en met 1 Februarie 2017. Die 118 kan geklassifiseer word as 108 sterftes direk as gevolg van die live Esidimeni oorplasing, en dan 10 mense wat geassosieer word van hierdie oorplasing. En die een wat na NRO wat nie gelisensieerd is nie, en hulle het afgesterf as gevolg van hierdie oorplasing. En so, hulle is oorgeplaas, omdat die patiënte oorgeplaas is van live Esidimeni af, na die rehabilitasiesentrum in Kalinin, is hierdie 10 patiënte opgeoffer, en verskuif na NRO toe, wat nie vir hulle gepaste sorg kon gee nie. Hulle het ook nie die hulpbronne gehad om vir hulle te sorg nie. So, kan jy dan sê, dat dit 'n duidelike oorsaak is? Ja, hulle sou, en dan sou jy kan sê dat hulle sou oorleef het as dit nie gebeur het nie. Wel, ek dink as jy enige man op straat gaan vra of dit so sal wees, dan sal hulle so ja sê, en ek glo as ombudsman moet ek ook soos die man op die straat kan dink.
Thank you. Just before we proceed, Professor, I've looked at both documents, and I know that in the hands of counsel, my preliminary view coincides with yours that the schedule contains material which, in regard to which the patients or deceased would be entitled to protection and confidentiality, whereas their mere names and genders would not be in the same category. So my direction to counsel at this stage is that you may not distribute the schedule any further than yourselves, and that it remains certainly not to the media, certainly not to members of the public, until such time that we have had proper consideration of its contents and the source of confidentiality that is being claimed over it. But for now, it should not be revealed to anybody, and my prima facie view, and therefore ruling, is that it's kept confidential to the extent that you have it, and no further extent. Let's go back to Professor Makoba. Counsel, would you proceed with your questions, please?
Professor, you have stopped counting at 118.
That is correct, sir.
Thank you, Professor. There are no further questions.
Can I be allowed to make 3 further comments that would assist, I think, this process?
Oh, yes,
quickly?
certainly. I think you should, Council of State alerted us that it was going to be brief.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the attitude of all the other advocates. They're going to be asking you quite a number of questions. But certainly, I think, as I said, these proceedings have been recommended by you. You arguably, your report has been accepted as accurate, truthful, and that it contains recommendations which all the parties embrace. I guess that is where counsel is coming from, that there's no contestation around it. But I would benefit from everything that you think it's appropriate for you to tell, certainly me as arbitrator, and the public at large. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I just want to make a couple further comments. I think a lot has been made around the fact that these patients died during winter in South Africa. I think it would have been the winter of 2016. And I have studied the pattern of death in the country. It is true that more people seem to die during the winter period than in any season of the year. However, I want to make this emphasis that there were 27 NGOs. And more than 80% of the patients who died in about 5 NGOs. Now, any common sense would tell you that the winter in Gauteng could not only confine itself to 5 NGOs out of 27. There must have been something specific that needed to be identified within those 5 NGOs. And what were the things that I identified when I investigated? The things that I found were overcrowding in those 5 NGOs, lack of financial resources for those NGOs.
I'm sorry, what does overcrowding there mean? It means that many patients, or between patients and normal residents?
Well,
there are too many people?
It is many patients for the capacity of the accommodation. Many patients.
Yes.
And as I say, there were poor financial resources in those NGOs, and some of them were just beginning to be NGOs. But more importantly, there was no food. And I'll give you maybe 2 examples. I don't know whether Reverend Mabuye is here. He's a father of a gentleman called Billy. And he will tell you that when he went to see his son and he bought some food for his son, the son ate everything, including the paper that was covering the Kentucky. That's how hungry he was. The second one,
I just want to recall that
is
Mr. Mabuya is here and he has raised his hand. And thank you for being here, sir.
And the other one is Miss Collins, I think, the wife of Frederick Collins, who had starved and had lost so much weight that his trousers were being tied with shoelaces. And clearly this was weight loss that was more or less induced by lack of food and starvation.
Can we
and
again
that could
acknowledge Ms. Collins?
could be
You
there.
raised your hand. I'm sorry you are in a tearful state, but I just want to record that you are here and you've acknowledged your presence. Thank you.
So the whole issue of winter and death must be looked at as that Gauteng had winter just as the rest of the country, but that winter could not be located only in 5 places out of 27 places. And as I say, you had to look for what was more there. The other one that people often spoke about the weather was that, people died because of the cold. That may be the case. I did a survey of the weather of these areas during this period. From Vereeniging to the east of the country, which is Cullinan, and I actually went to the Weather Bureau Service for them to give me the daily weather during the months of this death. And what I found was that the death did not correlate with the temperatures of the day. Again, telling you that there must have been something specific in those places where people died. For example, the coldest place, I think, in the country in that time was in Esidimeni, around Vereeniging, around the Vaal area. And that's where the least people died. The warmest place was in Pretoria, and that's where the most people died during that winter period, just studying the weather. I just wanted to show the details to which I think we went to try and show that, yes, the weather has something to do with it, but you needed to be a little bit more specific about the weather. I think that's the first. The second thing was this that I want to also emphasize. When people left Life Esidimeni, they left in one of 3 paths. They were either discharged home because they were relatively fit to go home, or they were discharged to hospitals because there was a reason for them. They could not be handled anywhere else except in hospitals, and then they were discharged to NGOs. Now, when you studied the pattern of death, especially between the hospitals and the NGOs, you found that of the transfers that went to hospitals, only about 2.3% of them died. When you went to look at the death at the NGOs, about 10% died. Now, if you analyze that statistically, the p-value is about 0.0002, which is very, very significant statistically. There is a big difference between transferring a patient from Life Esidimeni to the hospital, which is a safe place, to transferring them to an NGO, which was not a safe place at the time.
Professor, how does that calculation tally with what you say in the summary, in the executive summary? 95.1% deaths occurred at NGOs
Yes.
from those MCHUs directly transferred from Life Healthcare. Is that the same number, or are you referring to a different number?
Well, I have, fortunately, I've had to ask some statisticians because people rely more on statisticians than a medical doctor like myself. I've asked a statistician to do the calculations so that they can bring a p-value which is often regarded as more significant. Yes. And this is the value that I have now. But basically, it confirms what I said in my initial descriptions, that there were more people that were dying in the NGOs than in the hospitals. Now, what is the difference between an NGO and a hospital? It's quality care and professional care. That's all that's the big difference. You've got quality care and professional care. I don't want to cast aspersion to the NGOs, but that is the difference that you know about a hospital and NGO. The last point I want to make is this, that you may choose to think about it. On the 13th of September, the former MEC went to the legislature and made an announcement that 36 patients had died. And this was the reason for that led to my being asked to investigate. 36. It turned out that at that time, on the 13th of September, 82 patients had already died. Now, common sense would ask me or ask you, how come the MEC did not know that 82 patients had died at the time when she made the announcement? But here is the more difficult thing for me. I interviewed the Director of Mental Health and the HOD of the department on the 23rd of November.
2015.
2015. It would be 2016.
2016.
Yeah. And I interviewed them following each other so that they couldn't exchange information. When I asked them how many patients had died, this is in November, and this thing had been a public outcry. When I asked the HOD how many patients has died, he said to me, well, 36 or 40. It's there in my report. Now, I'm talking about November, and 82 patients have already died, and he didn't know. Okay, you can forgive him. Maybe he didn't have the knowledge. I then asked the director of the mental health division, how many patients have died? She says 48. I then asked 3 days after that, I asked the MEC, she says, well, 36. Now, here you have 3 senior people in a department. First of all, they don't know how many patients that they serve or service have died, but they don't even sing from the same song. One says this number, another one says that number. So how could they actually potentially run a service that is credible when they themselves did not know?
That perhaps, Professor, gets us to the record-keeping point you make. I'm sure you're going to that conclusion, aren't you?
Yeah. That basically there was poor record-keeping that at the time could not allow me to do proper statistics, and that I recommended that there be an information system be set up in the province, and to their pride, that system has been set up. I now know the number of patients that left Life Esidimeni with better accuracy, and I can do the statistics that I've done. And the verification team within the province that was set up by both the Premier and the National Ministry has been very helpful in that regards to provide us with a basis and reliable information from where we can work out the analysis.
Can you remember now more or less when was the verification team set up?
The verification team would have been set up, say, I released my report on the 1st of February. I think it would have been set up, I think, between the middle of February and early March.
Thank you.
That was set up, around there.
Professor, there are going to be a series of questions, and I would like to take
Thank you.
Council's thunder. I'm sure they've set up things that they would like to clarify themselves. But if I turn it over to them, again, in your executive summary 1.7, you highlight and put in bold and recommend that the Premier of Gauteng must, in the light of the findings in this report, consider the suitability of MEC Qedani Dorothy Mahlangu to continue in her current role as MEC for Health. And we know that she has since left. What would have prompted this very emphatic recommendation?
She was the political head, and she was the person who actually ran and took the decisions that led, I think, to the implementation of this project. And the project was actually, it was carried and masqueraded as a process of deinstitutionalization that is carried out in the Mental Health Act of South Africa. But if you look at it, the basic tenet of the policy said, you know, you must take people to an environment that was less restrictive. Now, if you take them to an overcrowded place, that cannot be less restrictive. And the policy says you take them to an environment where they integrate into their societies and their communities. Now, you go and take a child from Soweto and put them in Cullinan. There's no community in Cullinan that they know. So there were contradictions of the interpretation of what appears to be a progressive policy in a manner that I think the political head, I think, made this decision and made it a little bit confusing. And I think I call it reckless and negligent to make such a decision under the cloak of a policy that is very clear. You take people to less restrictive, provide them with better health. Now, if you take them from a hospital to a place that has got no professional staff to look after people who need professional staff, what can you call that in the Constitution of South Africa? You are denying people health. But nevertheless, you've taken them to an NGO. But there are other arguments that one can provide. That's why
Yes.
I felt it was, I think there were some problems that maybe her decision-making process and her understanding of policy and how it should be interpreted made me feel that, you know.
Very well. I'll come back to that depending on what council asks you. I'm going to let them loose on you. I think they are fairly friendly. They should be friendly towards you, I think. But I'm going to start. In what order am I going to start? I think I'm going to start with section 27. Before then, but though we're going to need interpretation. Ek vra vir 'n bondige vertaling.
Goed so meneer.
Baie bondig.
Dankie. Dis reg so. Kyk. Ek moet asseblief kommentaar lewer. Ek voel dat net hierdie kommentaar gee dat die baie mense gepraat oor die feit dat die pasiënte gesterf het in die winter. En die patroon, ek het gestudeer die patroon van die sterftes en ja, dit is bekend dat meer mense sterf in die winter, maar ek wil ook nie klem lê dat uit die 27 NRO's is meer as 80% omtrent het gesterf in die 5 van die NRO's. So winter hou nie net by 5 plekke nie. En ons het daarso spesifieke goeders identifiseer, dit was oorvol geweest, daar was baie pasiënte wat die kapasiteit van die akkommodasie nie kon behou nie, tekort finansiële hulp. Party het net begin en daar was nie kos nie. As ek 2 voorbeelde kan gee, meneer Mabuya of die pastoor se seun hy gaan kuier daarvoor en hy het vir hom KFC gevat en hy het sommer die papier en al opgeëet. Dis hoe honger hy was. En mevrou Kalitz, Frederik Kalitz, hy was so maar geweest, hy moes sy broek met sy veters vasmaak, ja, waar die meeste mense gesterf het. Tweedens, die mense wat uit Life Esidimeni uitkom, het een van 3 paaie gegaan. Hulle het of huis toe, of hospitaal toe, of na NRO toe. Die patroon van die dood in hospitaal van NRO is net 2.3% van die sterftes. En ek het mense statististe gekry om na hierdie syfers te kyk, want hulle glo meer so persone as wat hulle nou my sal glo met syfers. En jy sê dat die 95.1% NRO's, hulle is direk oorgeplaas en dit is 'n oorsaak daarvan. En die P-waarde wat ons daarvoor gebruik, dit bevestig dat meer mense dood is by die NRO's en daar's 'n verskil tussen NRO en 'n hospitaal. By NRO of dis kwaliteitsorg en professionele sorg wat jy by 'n hospitaal kry nie by 'n NRO of so te sê nie altyd by NRO nie. Op die 13de September het die voormalige LER aan die GPW gesê dat 36 pasiënte gesterf het. Maar teen daardie tyd is 82 al dood. So hoe die LER nie geweet het nie. Die moeilikste vir my is toe ek met die direkteur gepraat het in die hoof van die departement en ek het op die 23 November 2016 'n onderhoud met hulle gehad en ek het hulle direk na mekaar ondervra sodat hulle nie by mekaar gaan kom en dieselfde storie praat nie. En ek het vir hulle gevra hoeveel sterftes, die hoof van departement 36 of 40 daar rond. Die direkteur 48, die LER 36. 3 senior mense in die departement het nie geweet hoeveel mense het gesterf nie. Hulle kan nie eers dieselfde praatjie praat nie. En daar swak rekords gewees, daar was nie gepaste statistieke waardes nie, daar was ook nie inligtingsisteem nie, en ek het toegevra vir die premier en nasionale minister vir hierdie sisteem, hierdie verifikasiespan ook opgestel, en is tussen middel Februarie en einde Maart dit gebeur, en ek wil ook uit 1.7 uitlig, is die aanbeveling dat die premier, die LER, nie gepas is om hierdie pos in te neem nie. En hoekom het jy aanbeveling gemaak? Wel, sy was die politiese hoof. Sy het besluite geneem en dit was die implikasie en die implementering van hierdie projek. En sy het dit gebaseer op wetgewing en beleiding van nie instansie gebruik nie. En waar jy moet iemand integreer. As jy 'n kind van Soweto afvat en jy vat hom Kalinin toe, jy kan hom nie integreer nie. Dit is nie sy omgewing nie. Dit was roekeloos en nalatige besluite gewees. As jy vanaf hospitaal toe gaan na 'n plek sonder hulp, dit loop nie hand aan hand met die beleid nie. So dis as gevolg van haar die interpretasie van die beleid. Dis as gevolg van dis hoekom ek dit geskryf het.
Ngamafuphi nje uma sengiyifinqa ukuthi ke umhlonishwa ke ijaji uye waqala nje ukukhuluma ukuthi ke lemiqulu ekuthule ngayo ibufakazi la ukuthi ke imiqulu egodliwe uye wacela futhi ukuthi ke abameli bangayindlulisi bayimikise kumthombo wezindaba noma bayimikise kumalungu womphakathi size lenkundla ithathe isinqumo esifanele maqondana nalokho. Kanti ke kuye wabuzwa ke usolwazi ukuthi ke ingabe ke uma eqeda ukubala labantu abashonile bese bangu 118 wavuma wathi yebo kunjalo. Kanti ke uye waqhubeka ke ukuthi achaze udaba lokuthi ke njengoba noma ujaji uye wakhuluma indaba ukuthi ke lo mbiko ke njengoba uwenzile wona ke uneqiniso kanti ke futhi ke akukho ukuphikisana akekho ke umuntu ophikisa lokho indaba nje ukuthi ke kuzoba khona babuza imibuzo sifuna nje ukucaciselwa kube khona incazelo. Kanti ke usolwazi ke uthe makachaza ke lapho wathi ke yebo ke ukuya ngalo mbiko wami abantu abaningi bashone ebusika ngo-2016 kanti ke mina ke ithe mangiphenyisisa kahle ke ukushona indlela labantu bashone ngayo ngiye ngabona nje ukuthi ke kukhona nje okungahambi kahle ke lapho ngoba ke bekukhona ama-NGO ango-27 kanti ke ukuya ngalokho ke kuthiwa ke ukuya ngezibalobalo 80% bashone ke kulama NGO amahlanu kanti ke uthi ke yena lokho bekumangaza kakhulu ukuthi bahlanganisa kanjani ukushona kwalabantu nobusika ngoba ubusika bala eGauteng akukho nje ukuthi kuhlukile ukuthi bangathi ubusika mhlambe bucindezele kakhulu izindawo ezinhlanu kuphela phezulu kwalezo zingama27 izinhlangano ekungezona zikahulumeni bezihlonziwe noma zikhethiwe ukuthi ke labo bantu bazomikiswa khona. Kanti ke uye waphinda waqhubeka wathi ke okunye ukuthi lezi noma lezi inhlangano ekungezona zikahulumeni zona ke bezinganayo zinsiza kusebenza, benganayo imali eyanele yokuphatha lezo zikhungu, kunganakudla, kungana nezisetshenziswa ezanele. Wenza isibonelo ke ngomfundisi uMabhoyi ukuthi ungubaba kaBhili omunye ke wesisulu lapho ukuthi ke ngelinye ilanga uye wafika lapho ke emthengele ukudla, kanti lo mfana ugcine edla lokho kudla nephepha ukukhomba ukuthi ke lo mfana wayelambe kangakanani. Kanti ke futhi ke uyaphinda ke uchaza ke nendaba ke yokuthi baye benza ucwaningo ukuthi babhekisise njengoba ke baye banikezwa ke isizathu sokuthi kungenzeka ukuthi ke imbangela yokushona kwalabantu ngabe kuyindaba yobusika, kodwa ke uthi baye bakucwaninga lokho bathola ubufakazi ukuthi abuhambelani nalokho. Kanti ke futhi uma sekubhekelelwa labo bantu abasuswe lapho ke life Esidimeni bamikiswa ke kulawo makhaya, bukukhona amanye amakhaya ukuthi imvela kancane. Kanti uthi ngomhla ka-13 September loyo wayengu MEC wezempilo yena ke ngenkathi ke embuza imibuzo wathi kushone abantu abangu 36. Kanti ke mina kusho yena usolwazi ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi yena ulwazi aluthola ukuthi ke sokushona abantu abangu 82 ngaleso sikhathi uMEC yena amtshela ngo 36. Kanti ke yena wamangala ukuthi kuze kanjani umphathiswa lo angazi inani labantu abashonile. Uthi hayi kodwa mhlambe kuyenzeka lokho ngoba mhlambe kuyisinye isizathu ukuthi mhlambe bengatholanga ulwazi olufanele into ezifana nalezo, kodwa wamangala ukuthi ubize inhloko yomnyango iHOD wabuza futhi nomqondisi obhekelele izifo zengqondo iDirector of Mental Health nabo ke ngo-2016 ubabuze imibuzo ngoNovember. Kanti ke iHOD yona ikhuluma ngokuthi bangu-36. Umqondisi Director of Mental Health yona ke wanikeza ke inani elihlukile wathi 48, uMEC wathi 36. Uthi lokhu ke yiyo ke into eyamangaza kakhulu ukuthi kuza kanjani izikhulu ezintathu eziphethe leminyango zinginikeza izimpendulo ezihlukile ngodaba olulodwa. Lokho ke kuye kwamangaza kakhulu, kwakhomba nje nokuthi ngathi awekho ke ayikho indlela yokuphatha kahle ama record. Kulapho ke yabona bayenza isiphakamiso sokuthi ke umnyango lo uqale uhlelo lokugcinwa kwamarekhodi. Kanti ke uthi hayi lokho sokwenziwe manje sesiyakwazi ke ukuthi ke bagcine lolo lwazi kuleyo nqolobane. Kanti ke uthi ke kuye kwaba khona ithimba eliqokwayo lokuqinisekisa elaqokwa undunankulu kanye noNgqongqoshe kazwelonke ukuze ke bakwazi ukuthi ke baqinisekise ke ukuya ngalawo manani kanye nolwazi ke ebesinikezwe lona. Kanti ke uye waqhubeka futhi ukuthi ngendlela kungakhona esinye noma ke olunye udaba noma ujaji ke liye lambuza ukuthi ke kungani ke yena ke wayekhuluma kuzincomo zakhe ke babekhuluma lapho ke ukuthi ke umama uqedani Mahlangu lo wayengu-MEC ukuthi uyafanele phendule. Uprofessor ke ukhuluma ngokuthi ngoba uye ke owengamele lo mnyango ngekozombusazwe, uye ke umuntu bekathatha izinqumo ukuya ngale project, ingakho ke mina bengicabanga ukuthi ke uye ke umuntu ofanele ukuthi aphendule ngoba labantu basuswe kuthiwa bamikiswa endaweni lapho ke bazokwazi ukuthi bahlale khona baphinde futhi bahlangane nemiphakathi. Kodwa ke uma sebephinyisisa kahle bathola ukuthi hayi lezi zathu banikezwe zona azihambisani nangendlela kusetshenzwa ngayo njengesibonelo uthi bokukhona ingane yaseSoweto yathathwa yamikiswa le eKhalinene manje ke njengoba ke kuthiwa ke kufanele ukuthi baye emiphakathini emaduze nabo kuza kanjani ukuthi lengane imikiswe eKhalinene la ingazi umuntu khona kanti ke ubone ngathi ke izinqumo ezifana nalezo bokuyizinqumo ezibudedengu kanti ke futhi ukhulume ngendaba ukuthi kuba khona umehluko kuzinga lokunakekelo esibhedlela nakuma NGO ngoba esibhedlela kulapho ke kukhona abantu abafunde ngokwanele ukunakekela izigulani kanti ke uma ususa abantu esibhedlela ubamikisa kwenye indawo kuyafana nje nokuthi ubanqabela izinsiza zezempilo.
Ngiyabonga mntakithi. Bokuvakala ngathi you are longer than even the main speaker. But we have to live with this, right? We have to live with it somehow. In a multilingual society, and where we want to reach people, so they must be part of the process. That's why we're taking this effort to ensure that everybody is with us and is able to follow what we are doing. So ngiyabonga mntakithi. Angikhali. Okay. Advocate Hassan. I suggest to council to have pointed questions so that we can, and perhaps they should be interpreted as questions and then the answers in turn. The interpreters try to do both the questions and the answers and my intervention and understand it's quite a difficult task. But perhaps we should have sharp and short questions from council and then get the professor come in and get that bit interpreted and then move on along those lines. Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Good afternoon, Professor Makgoba. Thank you for making yourself available for this process. May I begin with the list of deceased that you've provided? We have had an opportunity to look at your list during the adjournment. Can you explain a little bit what the process was in compiling the list, what your process, how you compiled the list? Where did you get the information from?
I think,
Professor,
do you want me
you
to
have to
answer?
interpret the
You want me
questions
I can.
very quickly so that we can
Yeah.
get the answers then interpreted.
Baie dankie dat u beskikbaar is hier vandag en ons het nou kans gehad om na die lys te kyk na die persone wat afgesterf het. Ek wil net vir u vra, kan u verduidelik wat die proses was? Hoe het u hierdie inligting gekry?
Umbuzo ubuzwayo ukuthi ngiyabonga solwazi ukuthi bekhona siyabona kukhona uhlu labantu abashonile la besicela nje ukuthi usichazele inqubo esetshenzisiwe ukwenza loluhlu ukuthi ke ingabe noluthole kanjani ulwazi sicela nje usichazele kafuphi ngalokho.
Thank you for the translation and interpretation. First of all, when I started the investigation, I appointed a team of 2 health inspectors who had to visit each of the 27 NGOs at the time, basically